You're listening to episode 106 of Lifestyle Locker Radio with Sharon Holand Gelfand.
There's a world out there that we're not paying attention to, and we have to tune in, or we're going to end up being reactive and not have a choice when it's too late.
Hi, I'm Dr. Josh Hant, and welcome to Lifestyle Locker Radio, where we help you create an awesome life and lifestyle. From nutrition to fitness, mindfulness to peak performance, and relationships to money mindset, we bring you on an amazing journey to help you unleash your human potential. Here's a little bit about our guest today, Sharon Holand. She's a healthcare disruptor, a certified functional diagnostic nutritionist, speaker, and educator. She transforms women's lives by healing their guts, getting to the root cause of their most common health complaints by testing and not guessing. And she also incorporates lifestyle shifts filled with more energy and less stress. When her son was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, Sharon decided to tackle his condition head on. This led her to a breakthrough career change and sent her to graduate school, where she completed a Master's of Science in Applied Clinical Nutrition. Sharon now takes her expertise to stages, panels, and workshops to share her very important message of healing with the world. Through applied gut and hormone testing and lifestyle shifts, Sharon shows that you really can reverse diagnose and manage conditions naturally, thereby reclaiming your health and, most importantly, your life. So here's our guest today, Sharon. All right, everyone, we're welcoming Sharon to Lifestyle Locker Radio. So welcome, Sharon.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to have this conversation.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited, and I find it very funny that we actually practice, with less than a mile apart.
It's really amazing, right? How the internet can bring so many people together and realize that you can be across the world, or you can be literally 10 blocks away from each other.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know New York City very well, that could be 500,000 people.
Yeah.
Between us, and especially where we both are, and some pretty big hubs of crazy. It's pretty neat. But I'm glad that we can connect with, and we can translate this and bring this out, into the real world as
Absolutely.
well, which is very cool. So Sharon, what I want to do in your bio, we talk about being a lifestyle nutritionist. I think that is such a neat concept, and I'm obsessed with lifestyle, and that's why I've created the show. So what is a lifestyle nutritionist? What does that mean?
Such a great question, because I actually do get asked that a lot, because most people just think, oh, nutritionist, you're just looking at food. You're counting calories. You're telling me to stay away from X, fat or whatever. And to me, nutrition is like just one tiny slice of this huger pie of what our health is. And we really don't look at the whole big picture of the other components that provide you nourishment. So that's your relationships with your family, your friends, your coworkers. It's about your mental health, your stress levels, your physical health as chiropractic care, acupuncture, your beliefs. It's just like so much. And so it's really about lifestyle, because you can eat as healthy as you want. You can think, I don't get it, I'm doing everything right. But if you're not focusing on the greater picture, it doesn't matter how clean you eat. If you're clean, healthy, if you're stressed out, it goes down the garbage, down the drain.
That's so neat. I'm really glad that you actually look at it that way. I think is a real world view of what health is. It's not like one thing or this thing or that thing. It's a lot of things that are put into the puzzle. So what's your story? What brought you into the world, one, of nutrition, and then what got you into this shift of lifestyle nutrition, focusing on gut health and things like that?
Well, it started with my son, who was diagnosed with Crohn's about 10 years ago. I think actually about 11 years ago at this point. And I'm a total New Yorker, grown up here, lived here my whole life. I was like that type A personality, blinders on, do what I'm told, do what I'm supposed to do, went into banking and finance, never questioned anything. And then my son was diagnosed. He wasn't feeling well, and we kept doing all this testing. And he was diagnosed with Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, ileitis. Plus, he had so many other things going on: eczema, explosive personality, just a lot, allergies.
How old was
He
he
was
when you found this
11.
out?
So actually it was 12
Wow.
years ago. Because he's 23 now. So he was 11. And
Wow.
yeah, I didn't know anything about food nutrition. Healthy to me was a bran muffin and iceberg lettuce.
Yeah. Well, the crazy thing, I'll pause you
Sure.
for 1 second. People hear those conditions you just mentioned, and I know, I mean, for me alone, I've been around long enough to understand that it can happen now. It's happening younger and younger, but people think like those are old person
Yeah.
diseases or
Yeah.
conditions,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
so
Sorry. Go ahead.
no. To me, it's just mind blowing that the world is shifting and food is obviously shifting and lifestyles are shifting. That these conditions and processes and diseases are all showing up earlier and earlier and earlier in people's
Yeah.
lives. So there's obviously a problem that needs to be addressed.
Absolutely. And interesting that you bring that
Right.
up because the only positive of the doctor at the time, and I'm going to say positive, is that the awareness that she gave me that I never knew about this disease or autoimmune disease, I'd never heard of it. And she said that diagnosis of Crohn's is happening, and this is 12 years ago, at a younger age, predominantly with boys starting to
Yeah.
go through puberty. And it was kind of like, what's going on? So she put him on a medication. And I said, well, you're telling me that this is in the gut. Do I need to know anything? And at the time, I had a business with my former husband. I, again, knew nothing about nutrition. And she goes, no, don't worry about it. She goes, the medicine will help him. It's like when you don't know what you don't know, you just like, okay, because what do? You trust the
Hmm.
professional. So a week later, my son came over and he was like crying and keeled over in pain, telling me he was getting worse and
Mm.
insisting that it was the medicine. And I called up the doctor and she insisted it was the disease. And it was one of those moments where I didn't know what to do. And of course, you go to Dr. Google.
Of
5 hours
course.
later, a million tabs over, so confused. I was like, help, somebody.
Hmm.
And I heard this voice that's just said to me, like, what are you doing? Why aren't you trusting your son? Why don't you believe him? Because he's a kid. And it was like that first little motherly instinct and gut intuition of, pay attention. And I think in life, we just get so disconnected from ourselves that we don't trust when we have that inner sense, right?
Yeah. Your gut
Yes,
sense, right?
yes, there's truth to it.
No pun intended.
Right.
Yeah.
So, long story short, he was right. It was the medicine. And that just set me off on this trajectory, literally a 180-degree turn on a mission to help him. I went back to grad school, got a master's in clinical nutrition. At this point, my kids were already in high school because I'd started taking classes. I had to take, all these prerequisites. And
Hmm.
I was able to help him heal through all of that. But interestingly for me, I thought I was healthy. I was doing everything right, diet, exercise, try to get some sleep. My body was falling apart and I wasn't paying attention to me. So I was taking Imatrix shots for migraines. I have a
Wow.
pituitary adenoma, so I have a benign brain tumor in my pituitary gland.
Mm-hmm.
And I was taking medicine for that. I was on antibiotics for chronic sinus infections, strep throat. I was taking
Wow.
antacids for IBS. I was anemic, so I was taking iron. Was hypoglycemic, so I was eating many meals. If I tell you, it was like I was told I'm healthy. Yeah, you're just getting older, all that stuff. And it was like,
Yeah, but you were a young
yeah,
mom. I mean, come
yeah,
on.
exactly. I was in my 30s at the time. And I just thought to myself, what is going on? And so the whole thing was like this huge wake up call, and his diagnosis was a blessing in disguise. So, it led me to all that, led me to getting certified as a functional nutritionist, focusing on gut testing and gut health, and realizing like there's a world out there that we're not paying attention to, and we have to tune in, or we're going to end up
Yeah.
being reactive and not have a choice when it's too late.
Yeah, I think, and you hit a really important point there that I feel that most of the world, I mean, at least the
Yeah.
US, our world lives in is we're so reactive. We're not proactive in saying, wow, let's learn a little bit. Let's focus on doing something positive. It's like we wait for the part of my New York here for a second, but when the shit hits
Yep.
the fan, we just like, it's like, holy crap, what do we
Yeah.
do? And I see that as a chiropractor, I see that when we look at someone's structure over an x-ray, and I have 11-year-olds that are having deteriorating spines, which blows my mind. You know, when I first started practice 12 years ago, I never would have suspected that, but it has everything to do with
Yeah.
lifestyle, you know, their technology they're playing with, their food that they're eating. I mean, when I see kids walking around the city eating, it like, I'm not a parent, so I won't say anything, but I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, really? You're letting your kids eat that for breakfast or whatever? It doesn't make a difference. But being proactive.
Yeah. So you said an interesting word, breakfast.
Yeah.
Cereal. Who decided cereal was a breakfast food?
The cereal companies.
Right? I sometimes
Yeah.
eat leftover dinner for breakfast. And when my kids, like when we were going through this whole transition, at first they were like, Mommy, what are you doing? You know, how come you're eating that for breakfast? It was salmon and broccoli. I'm like, who said that cereal? And I stopped buying cereal. I'm like, that's it. We're gone. That's history.
Yeah. Yeah. That it is true. You know, and that I don't remember who I had this conversation with, but I think it was the cereal companies, and like which one it was. I think there's probably one or two, right, were around like 30 years ago. They the PR and the promotion and the marketing is so good that the kids are telling the parents what we should be eating for breakfast, not the parents telling the kids.
Yeah, exactly. And they do a great job of putting the colorful boxes on the shelves right at the eye levels of the kids so they can grab it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. And also just to bring in the whole idea of like chiropractic and gut and nutrition health, I chiropractic to me is like so important to all of this because when you and I work with our clients and they really understand the importance of like the vagus nerve connecting your nerves and your brain to your gut, and how it isn't just one thing, and you really have to open up to all of it. That's the only way to heal. It's the only way to be open and be able to receive the information and learn to listen to your body for what it needs. It's So it's changed my life. It's changed everything. I work with everybody, but I work mostly with women over 40. But what's interesting is that as I'm working with them, they're like, can you help my daughter? Can you help my son? So now I'm working with kids in their 20s and teenagers, 19-year-olds who, like you were just saying, with their degenerative spines, they're all on these antidepressants. Their bodies are so messed up. And it's like, what are we doing to our future generation?
Yeah, I agree 100%. So, with your son going through this whole process, I mean, with you, obviously, and you figuring out that you had, like, you're like, holy cow, I'm not eating what I should be eating. I'm not doing what I should be doing. Was there like a point with you where you said, enough's enough with me, because I'm helping my son, but I disconnected myself from the equation?
Well, as I started helping him and realized what was going on with me, it was just kind of natural to start shifting everything. And I honestly don't think I realized it until after the fact, because I naturally, as I was, doing my research and learning and shifting stuff for my son, as a family, I was cooking and I was bringing different foods in. I naturally was able to get rid of all of these medications really without paying attention to me, because I was helping my son. Does that make sense?
That's great.
Right?
That's
so
great.
So it was almost like one of these, I woke up one day and I thought, wait a second, I haven't had a migraine. Because then I used to think, oh, it's, period related, my PMS.
Yes.
And I just started to think, wait a second, I haven't felt the irritable bowel. I haven't felt this in so long. I didn't even realize what I was doing. And then when I started the gut testing and did a stool test and looked at all of that and saw other components I had to pay attention to, it was just, again, a wake up of there's so much to do. So yes, he was the catalyst that woke me up to connect to all of it. Okay. So you're right. I was disconnected. And I thank him every day for the gift of his disease. Sounds crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty. No, but it makes sense. I mean, I say this almost, I think every single show when I talk to someone, that has a very deep passion for what they do, there's usually something bad. There's a trigger, or there was something that shook their foundation where he said, all right, I'm just doing this now. I need to do this. I'm called to do this. And if, you could have had a successful career in X and now you're doing that. It's like, holy cow.
Yeah.
So I think it's very neat, and it's your son thanks you, the world thanks you, your clients thank you, and thank your son, I'm sure. not directly, but and I want to just circle back for 1 second, because we've mentioned gut testing, and I think me and you having the conversation, it makes sense. And not everybody listening may even know. Like, people think my gut, like what is my belly? Like, what do we talk about when we say gut testing? What does that even mean?
A great question. And you're right, because sometimes you forget and you just get into this natural lingo and realize, wait, that's my lingo. It's not the world.
Yeah, exactly.
So the gut microbiome is made up of like 100 trillion different types of bacteria. You have the good, the bad, the ugly. And it has a mind of its own. We have been starting to read like, oh, your gut's your second brain, because there's truth to that. And I actually was listening to, and I wish I can remember the doctor's name, but he did this great video on comparing the gut to the armed forces and all these antibodies being the different parts of the armed forces. You have the Navy, you have the SEALs, you've got the Marine, you've got the pilots, you've got the ground Army reserves, and they all take care of everything to protect us. And we have the same thing with our gut. And they talk to each other, and they'll send us messages of what they want and what they're looking for. So when we have like sugar cravings, it's like that's your gut talking. That's your gut taking over your brain, right? So what happens with that gut, and I'll get to the stool testing in a second, well, maybe a minute, is that when we have invaders come, they'll shoot, they'll protect us. And our gut does the same thing. It's like, ooh, we've got to get rid of that invader. So it sends out a bullet, and it's able to adapt. Our body reserves are able to adapt to it and compensate, because our body's meant to heal. But over time, you get more and more invaders. And when I say invaders, it could be the foods that you're eating. It could be the air you're breathing, the environmental toxins, stress levels, the products that we're using on our skin, because our skin's our largest organ. So what you put on your skin gets absorbed 10 times faster than what you eat. The products you're using to clean your house, all of these invaders are there to wreak havoc. So over time, our bodies are, instead of sending out bullets, now they're bombing. And with the bombing, there's collateral damage. So now it's like this havoc's been, created, and your body doesn't know what to do, and it can't compensate any longer. And that's when you start getting these symptoms. So it doesn't happen overnight. It takes years and years sometimes, and everybody's different. So it happens differently. But when that happens, and then your body starts not tagging all these invaders, then doesn't recognize, wait, what's the invader? What's real? What's body? That's when you start to develop this autoimmune disease, because it's going against itself. So what I do is I don't do it. I have a lab send you a stool test at home.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
Somebody actually,
not checking a diaper, right?
Actually said to me, like, do you actually look at the poop? I'm like, yeah, no. Nope. Poop is a big part of my business, and we discuss it on a regular basis. But the test gets sent to you. You do the stool test at home. It's one sample. You send it back, and what it does, it maps out your gut microbiome. So because over 70% of our immune system starts there, you need a map. You need to know what's going on. It's like going to New York and you want to drive to California. You're not going to just get into your car and start the engine and just start driving, because you don't know where you're going to end up. You need a map. Exactly. That's what this does. So it looks at all the different types of bacteria, pathogens, parasites, immune response, calprotectin, which is the inflammatory marker, to see what's going on. Then from there, and based on a client's intake and their symptoms and how they're feeling and lifestyle, I put a plan together for them, because now that you've gotten to the root and we can see, now we can build your foundation. Now I can give you the tools so that you can get really involved and be your own expert and advocate, so that you have this toolbox to really understand what you need and forget about all these friggin' diets. Pardon my language. It's like they don't work.
We're New Yorkers. There's no
Yeah,
language
well,
here.
good, because it's like I honestly sometimes I have to hold myself for the F-bomb that sometimes slips out of my mouth. So I didn't ask you if this is PG or not, so we'll stick with friggin'.
Perfect.
But it's like, come on, people. There's like so many diets out there. Why? Because they don't work. It's not a one size fits all. You have to really look at yourself and block out all the noise that we've been conditioned to hear over and over again. So that is what I do and how I really get to the root of helping somebody.
That's pretty neat. So that the testing is pretty is your roadmap, actually maybe it's not your roadmap, it's the data that allows you to build the roadmap out.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a good way of putting it. Thank you. I like that.
All right,
I'm stealing it.
Listen, you don't have to steal it. You're more than welcome to
I'm
have
taking
it. More than welcome to have it. And so you mentioned, we talk about the gut and you talk about like bacteria and all of these things. And how long have you been doing this for? Like the testing?
The testing I've only been doing a couple of years.
Okay. The reason I ask is, I grew up like a very unusual type of family. I'm in a chiropractic family, so I've not been vaccinated. I don't ever have antibiotics. I've never had antibiotics. All of these things in my body, unless it was like colloidal silver.
You're lucky.
And I see people and patients and friends and family that's like, okay, they've probably had, 5 years old, they've had antibiotics 25 times. What does that do? Like, what do you think fast forward to now? Like, are we seeing more gut problems because of this overuse and abuse of antibiotics?
Undoubtedly, yes. Absolutely.
Okay.
Because like one round of antibiotics messes up your gut because, yes, it kills the bad bacteria, but then it doesn't really differentiate. So it's killing some good bacteria also.
It's like a nuclear bomb.
Yeah, exactly. And, listen, we didn't know what we didn't know back then. You're so fortunate to have been in a family like that. I feel like my kids are so fortunate because now going forward, if they choose to have families, they'll have that knowledge. And that's the goal of what you and I are doing here, your podcast and, me speaking, all your other speakers, is to spread that word of that awareness, because those antibiotics, one round messes up the gut enough to then have the bad bacteria start deciding to tell you, we need some sugar. We have a craving.
Yeah.
And then it just feeds more and more and creates the fermentation and the dysbiosis, and it starts to spread. And it takes time. It happens over years, So some people say, like, I don't understand. But go back to when you were a child. Yeah. Yeah.
And you mentioned you're a healthcare disruptor, which I love, absolutely love. I think anybody I interview that's in the health world has to be a disruptor. We can't be part of the status quo. But in that disruptor, speaking about a disruptor in general, I want to go back to the gut here, or down to the gut. Are there, besides, we know antibiotics are pretty harsh. Let's just think about food for a second, because I know people that are listening to this have kids, may not have kids, or young adults or athletes. What are some foods that are full-blown disruptors to digestion, maybe for most people, or the majority? Or are there any?
So full-blown that are disrupting their gut that they're eating right now in that respect? Oh, yeah. Wow. You mean like the standard American diet at McDonald's? Oh, wait, was I allowed to say that?
Yes, you can say anything you want.
You mean all the fast food restaurants and all the commercials that are telling us? Honestly, it's really, but seriously, it is. It's all the processed food. And I was a victim too. I looked for colorful foods. I was buying all those Go-Gurts and the fruit by the foot. I was sold marketing. We were eating advertisements. So we think that we're giving our kids something that's going to be fun and it'll feed them without looking at all these dyes and these ingredients. So all these processed foods that are in the middle of the supermarket, you have to ask yourself, if it's sitting on the shelf for so long and it's not breaking down,
Yeah.
What's it doing in your body?
Yeah, it's
Right? So
true.
it's totally
It's true. Yeah.
disrupting your body because your body's like, warning, warning, I have no idea what to do with this. Like, yeah, let's just send it into your
Yeah.
bloodstream. Let's figure out what your organs want to do with it.
Yeah. Okay. So then here's another good question because we're going this way. I think this is neat. A lot of the people that are listening are entrepreneurs or that have active lifestyles. They're always, a lot of them are on like go. They're always moving. And, for me, if I don't prep a lunch, I have to go to like a Whole Foods or a Fairway in New York, and I'll have to get like a salad. I'll have to get something where I can have something like a vegetable and for me a protein, fat, the whole nine
Hmm.
yards. But something healthy. A lot of people don't think that way. Is there a way that that active lifestyle, that person, the New York City, right? We're New Yorkers, but if New Yorkers can do it, I think it can work
Yes.
anywhere else in the
Yes.
country, right? Because New York, if you've not been, whoever's listening, it's busier than busy all the time, and it's always on the move. The saying, "The city that never sleeps,"
Oh,
is very
yeah.
true. Right? It's very true. But so we have these active lifestyle people, and like, well, what can I do? Are there companies that make like a bar? Are there things that people can do proactively when they're on the go? So it's like, oh crap, I can't go get a salad today, or I can't go get roasted vegetable,
Yeah,
whatever it is.
yeah. Another fantastic question because yes, while I have a lot of clients in the city, like I work virtually, so I have clients like all over the place. But
Mm,
yes, we're active. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and people who travel, and I always say to them, on a Sunday, don't overwhelm yourself with thinking about your month. Look at your week, right? Chunk down the week. If you know on a weekend that you have a crazy week and you're going to be traveling or you have a lot of dinners out and you need to have your snacks,
mm,
the best thing for me, and when I say for me, for a lot of my clients who aren't allergic or have any allergies to nuts, is go to Whole Foods or any health food store, go to the bulk section of the nuts and seeds, and buy a variety. And I always say, don't worry about the fats because when you're eating a plant based like that, you're getting the good fats. So,
mm.
it's like the almonds, the walnuts, the sunflower seeds, the pumpkin seeds. And yes, you could get into the whole lectin conversation. I don't want to go there
Yeah,
because
yeah,
right now we need to focus on what can I do that's going to work for me, right? So create your
yeah.
own trail mix. And if you do like chocolate and you're like, "Ooh, but I really want the chocolate," buy dark chocolate bars that are like 70% or higher, preferably 80%.
Yeah.
Break them into little pieces. Go ahead, put it in your trail mix. But I always
Mm-hmm.
tell people stay away from dried fruit. Too much sugar, sulfites, you don't need it. You think that you do because
Mm-hmm.
it's a habit, but you do not need it at all. Put the chocolate instead. If you want maybe a mulberry or a goji berry, then divide them up into snack size baggies, quarter of a cup to a half a cup, and this way you have it. You just grab them, throw them in your bag, you're set. So that's one way. And people love that. They just love that it's healthy. They're, having nuts and seeds. They can. For those who can't or are like, yeah, I want another option. I love Paleo Valley, the raw, what are they called? They're meat, like just like meat on a stick.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Or Epic.
Not like jerky, but like
Yeah,
epic.
yeah, those
Yes.
things. I love those. Go ahead and eat
Mm,
the GMO free. Make sure it's grass fed, beef jerkies and those types of
mm.
foods, which are great. People think like, all right, if you're vegan, I understand that's not for you, but I try to give people those options. And then I have to
Yeah.
say, I absolutely love Bulletproof's collagen bars. Um,
Yeah. They're
they're
awesome.
awesome, right? And people are like, oh
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
God, there's so much fat. Like, stop worrying about the fat. You have to
Yeah.
worry about the right
Uh,
kind of fat.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's funny you say that because most people, and I love the fat conversation, because most people that are worried about fat are fat, and people that are not worried about fat are eating tons of it, the good
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah. I have to
right?
interject because I made me realize that one thing I left out when I was sharing my journey was that I had been yo-yo dieting since I was 12 years old. I tried
Okay.
every diet. I was taking dextrin pills. I was like low fat,
Wow.
sugar
Hmm.
free, eating Snackwell cookies because there's no sugar in them. And I could not fit into a pair of jeans to save the life of me. It was either too big here, too tight there. I would like go from, you know, 2 to 3 jean sizes in my closet. as soon as I started helping my son and let go of counting calories and fat and understanding the importance of it, I went down 2 jean sizes. I can wear multitude styles of jeans that I was never able to do before. The only time I get on the scale is when I go for my annual checkup. I don't look at a scale. I don't think about calories. I don't think about fat because I look at the good fat. Avocados, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Eat an avocado every day if you want. What?
Yeah.
So I love those collagen bars. Those are my top go-tos when I share with my clients.
Okay.
Do you have favorites that you like?
I do. I love the bulletproof collagen bars. Absolutely love them. My go-to, which I use for endurance events, is I do a lot of crazy endurance events, but is the vanilla shortbread?
Yes.
That one. But I love, if I have to have one and I'm not running or not doing an event, I love he makes a chocolate chip one that I don't know. I think the chocolate chips are made out of like Kerrygold butter or something.
Wow, I love Kerrygold butter. Oh wow,
Right?
We totally speak the same language.
Exactly. But I do. I have actually right here. I take every day. These actually will fill me up and give me energy. I use a company called Energy Bits. Have you seen those?
I haven't. Oh, cool. I'm gonna look into that.
Yeah, awesome. They have chlorella and spirulina, which I won't get into too much of a detail.
Love that.
I have a podcast, so I interviewed the CEO. Absolutely love the product. Use it as a green every day for myself, getting my greens. I mean, I eat real food too, not just that, but those are clean tablets. And the fat that I do the same thing like you said with nuts. My downfall is that I love dried fruit. I try not to eat it very frequently. And if we get dried fruit, it has to be sulfite and sulfate free.
Right.
But it's but I don't do it all the time.
Right.
But yes, it is. And for my late night snack, if I'm eating late night, if I'm working, is usually a nut butter with some 70-80% dark chocolate.
Yeah.
And I take dried, shredded raw coconut.
Love it.
On it, so more fat and more goodness.
Love it.
And that's a snack for me.
That's a great one. I don't know if you've heard of Nutso. It's Nutso. It's really good because they have one that's got like a mix of all different types of nuts in it. It's a butter. It's a nut butter.
Okay, that's great. I will put that on my list to check out.
Yeah, and I'll definitely put that on your list. My list, what you just showed, maybe Energy Bites.
Yeah, they're really good. So I also know that you have, and I'm not sure if it's totally full yet, you have a program that you're launching, a masterclass that you're launching in January.
Yes.
Right, this upcoming January. So it's 18 right now. We're launching in January 19.
Yes.
And it's specifically to women.
Yes,
this one.
It is.
All right, and it's friggin' fad diets. Is that what?
It's yes.
But there's a few. That's a shorter. The word is a little shorter. It's a New York word. But I think it's neat because you said it's a masterclass on breaking your diet addiction.
Yeah.
So explain what people. I mean, if they want to apply and get on a waiting list, we'll have all the details in the show notes. But what is the masterclass? What does that mean, and what will people be doing and getting and interacting with?
Yeah. No, thanks. That's it's a great question. So I've noticed as you know with you, it's like there are patterns with all of our clients, and I realized that the length of time that somebody needs to truly get it and get healthy and get to the root is about 5 months. And so this is why it's a masterclass, because it's for people who are really committed to finally just getting rid of the whole concept of dieting, and also taking the stool test. It's included with it. So because sometimes insurance companies don't cover it anyway. So you get the stool test, and it starts with that. It starts with filling out a huge long intake. I have to know everything about you, and it's going to be group calls. It's going to be private calls. It's going to be access to me. It's going to be information and tools for your toolbox so that you will be able to have for your lifestyle what works for you. And that'll be the end of dieting. That'll be the end of eating advertisement. That'll be the end of being on a million different email lists from different magazines and companies and getting confused with all the messages, so that you can finally break free of the worry of all of it, so that you can, we waste so much time on that. And now you'll have all this space and time to move forward to what you need to do, but it also be mindset, how to, because there's a lot of like life coaching that kind of goes with it, of
Of course.
relationships and conversations, mindset, stress reducing techniques, everything. So it's like, this is the kitchen sink for so that's, yeah,
Yeah,
it's a huge program.
very cool. Well, that's great. So I know you're doing it now in 2019, and I don't open up a can of worms, but is it something you're probably going to do again?
My goal is I'm going to see what evolves from this, and because
Mm-hmm.
I've done smaller pilot programs to get feedback from clients, which is why I'm creating it at this level now because of all that feedback. So I have to see because I have other ideas. I'm doing more speaking engagements now, and with companies and organizations and conferences. So I have to see how it all pans out.
All right.
So
All right, no, but it sounds very, very, intriguing for someone. I mean, I would say men and a woman, right? I know you have your niche that you work with, but I think it's a really neat concept, and I think it's something that will definitely that people will eat it up, if you
yeah,
will, right? I mean, they really will because the world is knocking, right? It's
yes,
the world's ready for all of this healthy lifestyle push because people are dying for no reason. They're on drugs for no reason. They're on so many bad things for no reason. And there are a lot of great solutions out there. And I think this is probably going to be added to that list of awesome solutions for people to get
that's
well.
my goal. That's my goal. Give you your power back so that you can just live a great life.
Yeah. This is an awesome conversation, right?
Yeah, it was. I love it.
Well, yeah, it's good. I almost forgot we were recording a podcast and this was just a
I
conversation.
know. I know. I'm just like, yeah, I'm thinking, God, we could just keep talking. Well, actually, you
Yeah.
and I can because we're near each other.
Exactly. Totally. Agreed 100%. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure I have all of your social links in front of me now. I'm going to make sure we connect. That's all going to be in the show notes. Your link, which I'll say right now, which we're going to create for you when your podcast is produced, is going to be lifestylelocker.com, if I can actually speak here, right? lifestylelocker.com/ Sharon Holand. All right, it's going to be very simple.
Awesome.
So when we have it up, you're going to be able to share with your whole crew, because I think these are very relevant to your team and your people, as well as people in my practice and all our whole audience. So I want to thank you so much.
Thank
It was an
you.
absolute
I
pleasure.
agree. It was wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Locker Nation, I am glad you made it this far. How awesome was Sharon, right? And really funny that we actually work and she lives close to where I practice. That's so cool. So she's launching something really cool in 2019. It's a masterclass, which she's taking by application only. So it's January 2019. She's only taking 10 women. It's called F space K fad diets. You fill in fill in those blanks. It's a masterclass on breaking your diet addiction. If you're interested in getting on her wait list, go to her website and sign up for her newsletter, and you'll get her free guide to break free from cravings, diets, and deprivation. And we'll make sure you connect with her in the show notes, all of her details as far as her website, Facebook, everywhere you can connect with her. Also, I want to let you know, if you're a chiropractor and listening to this, we are teaching a program called Market Your Voice. And it's teaching chiropractors and healthcare practitioners how to get their voice out to the world, to create their tribe and create an impact that not only goes to their internal tribe, but it goes across the world. All right, Locker Nation, that's my message for today. And if those of you who are interested in Market Your Voice, make sure you do connect with me on social. All right, y'all. Have an awesome day. Peace out.